Hi there. In this video, we're going to learn about Greg Abbott's school voucher program, also known as the Education Savings Account, and what that means for the Texas education system. We're going to cover everything that you need to know about this bill, including how it works as well as the history of it. We will start by talking about how both sides of the political aisle are navigating this issue. And then we're going to discuss how the branches of government are getting involved, as well as how they are using checks and balances to keep everyone in line and playing by the rules. And lastly, we will talk about how the public opinion and citizens' rights are being perceived by the parents and voters on this issue. But first, let's start with a brief overview of what this program is, with the help of a little animation. This is an animation to help us understand the voucher program. So let's start off with our student. This is little Billy. Unfortunately, little Billy has a learning disability. He currently attends this public school, but this public school does not have the resources that they need to facilitate little Billy. So little Billy's mom and dad look into sending him to private school. Unfortunately, his parents are broke, and they do not have the money that they need to send little Billy to private school. So what Billy's mom and dad do is they go online and they find out about Governor Abbott's school voucher program. And they apply to receive government money, which will go directly into their pockets, so that they can send little Billy to the private school that does have the resources that they need to help little Billy learn, and he can get over his learning disability. So now that we have an understanding of how the voucher works, let's go over some of the history of the bill. So during his first few years in office, Greg Abbott was actually pretty silent on all educational issues. The first sign of this voucher program that we saw was in 2017, when he called for some form of the voucher program to be offered for kids with disabilities. But it was not until 2023 when he switched gears and became very vocal on equal education for all students. He ran a parent empowerment tour across Texas to get his program started. In this tour, he called that all parents deserve to be able to help their children get an education if they so desire. The bill failed to get passed in the 2023 legislative session due to opposition from both sides of the political aisle, who each had their own concerns. One article from the Texas Tribune has discussed how Abbott has heavily persuaded voters in the 2024 election cycle to vote to remove from office all of those who opposed him in the previous bicameral session, both Democrat and Republican. So coming into the 2025 bicameral session, he is confident he will be able to get his bill passed after an overwhelming Republican victory in the House. Some are concerned about that Abbott is overstepping his legislative influence, but the checks and balances system is being called into play here. The wonderful Texas Constitution has many bumpers in place in order to ensure that each branch is in its role properly and to the best of its abilities. The legislative branch is having to find a way to healthily balance all concerns by voters and House members alike to ensure that every student has an equal chance at education. So now that we've gone over the brief history of the bill, how the political parties are playing into this, checks and balances, as well as how the governmental branches are attacking this, let's move on to public opinion and how citizens' rights are becoming a concern from voters. There are many public concerns when it comes to this voucher program. Some are surface level issues, and others actually go a little bit deeper. The surface level ones are that the program would divert money from the public school system and cause underfunding, leading to a quality decrease in education, as well as potential reduced services for those students who have to stay in public school. And then there is concern about private schools not being held to the same testing standards, which is argued to potentially be a major oversight by the Texas legislature if it is not properly addressed. In order to combat concerns about underfunding schools, The Texas legislature has already begun working on a bill that would funnel more money into the public school system to help with teacher wages and school resources. When it comes to the testing standards, the state is hearing these complaints and trying their best to find a way to monitor education and ensure that the money is being spent in the right places. Some deeper impacts actually may be more aligned with the civil rights issues towards the kids who will receive this money for private schooling. It is no secret that private school has typically been reserved for those with money. So a major social concern is arising as to what happens when you shift private schooling to be accessible to all kids. There is also room for concerns of potential racism and discrimination for these kids who will receive these vouchers. So let's review everything we have discussed in this video. We learned about the school voucher program and how several factors are influencing it. By first covering the history of the bill, we learned how both political parties were initially opposed to the bill, with each side's own concerns preventing its passing in 2023. We then covered how the checks and balance system is being used to keep all of the branches in their own bubbles to ensure that this bill is passed fairly and addressed on all fronts. Lastly, we ventured to learn how the public opinion is shaping on the voucher program and how some citizens' rights are a major concern. The Texas legislature definitely has its work cut out for it in the 2025 session. Especially in this ever-evolving world, it will be interesting to see how the voucher levels the playing field for all students, because at the end of the day, every student deserves a fair chance.